What's up guys, it's GamerMD83 and today I have a very special video for you guys. Since I've been receiving many messages and comments regarding the Dragon Age Keep, I promised I would be making a Dragon Age Keep video in order to explain what it was. But then I thought, what better way than to invite BioWare to be a part of the video? I figured they would obviously be the best at answering these questions and addressing some of these concerns. And they accepted. So it's a huge pleasure and an honor to bring you guys this video in order to inform, but I also think it's important for us to hear and feel the commitment of the team on this project. So without further ado, here we go.
Hey guys, my name is Fernando Mello. I'm the Director of Online Development at BioWare here in Edmonton, where Dragon Age Inquisition is being developed. And amongst other things, I look after the web development team, which is building the Dragon Age Keep right now. So I thought maybe we could answer a couple questions.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing that. Really appreciate it, because I have been getting a lot of questions from people in my videos, my Dragon Age videos. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll make a video talking about it. But then I was like, what if I just, ask one of you guys to join me in on the video? And you guys are amazing, so
well,
yeah.
Thank you. It was very nice to ask.
Yeah. So first of all, I think we should start, because some people, when I was asking people, if you guys have questions about the Dragon Age Keep, ask now. Some people are still confused as to what it is actually, and I wanted to let you explain it briefly. What is the Dragon Age Keep?
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. I think the blog post was maybe a little vague, somewhat on purpose at times, as it's still early days. We're still trying to figure out exactly where we're headed with some of these things. But essentially, the Keep is an online destination, a website that is meant to become a digital hub for all things Dragon Age. And with regards to Dragon Age Inquisition, one of the key things is that you'll be able to actually set the choices for the previous games and essentially recreate the world of Dragon Age to your specifications and then import that into DAI so that you can play it and see the results of those choices.
Okay, great. Now, most of these I'm getting from my subscribers, these questions. So I think I'll start off with, aside from Dragon Age Origin and Dragon Age 2, what other content will be addressed in the Keep? All DLCs or just some?
Yeah, so the idea is that all of the significant content will be on the Keep, including the DLCs and Awakening expansion.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward to the Keep. I think this video should help to, and I think that's why I really wanted to do it, was because I think it should help make people understand that this isn't just a website, or it isn't just a questionnaire, because I feel like it's going to be something much more than just that.
I hope so. I mean, we're putting a lot of effort into it, and I think I really hope that we can pleasantly surprise people when they take a look at it.
Yeah.
We are going to be having the betas very soon in the new year.
Nice.
We're talking about that pretty quick, actually. And actually, it's sort of tradition here at BioWare that when we're launching a game the next year, that Christmas, the game team usually creates a Christmas build that people get to play. So everybody's going to be playing DAI in the office over the next couple weeks. So we're already putting the game team through the Dragon Age Keep with some of the beta features, where we stood up the features and they can get a chance to play it and change their world and see the results of that in DAI.
Oh, nice.
So already we'll kind of see people's first reactions for that, but I'm really looking forward to finally getting fans on that.
Yeah.
The reactions so far have been really good, and it's also amazing to see people discover all sorts of things that they didn't realize was even possible in the previous games. So,
I know that.
Stuff in there. It's really cool for that.
Yeah, that still surprises me. Sometimes when I go back and play, I'm like, whoa, I didn't even know that was possible.
It's interesting. Like we noticed, we did some just some very quick focus testing, and I think one of the interesting things is that, and I realize I do this as well, is I tend to skew towards the same kind of answers. Even when I start a new playthrough and I'm like, I'm going to be...
Yeah, same here.
I'm going to kill everybody. And then you get these questions, you're like, I can't really do this.
I can't do it. Yeah, I know.
And I think people, a lot of people, I think, probably are along those lines, and that's why they only get a chance to see some of the content on there.
Yeah.
I think once they get a chance to see what's in the keep, hopefully it'll spark some interest in terms of going back and discovering some of those things too.
Yeah, hopefully. In the blog post that I'll put the links in the descriptions for those of you that haven't read it. But in the blog post that Mark Dara wrote, or am I saying his last name right? Dara. Okay, I thought I was saying it wrong. So he mentions moving to the cloud. I know that some people still don't quite understand what that means. Could you?
Yeah. I mean, essentially, when we talk about moving to the cloud, what it means is that the Dragon Age Keep lives outside of the game itself. It lives online, which means essentially if you have a device that has a browser and you can connect online, you can access it from anything. And then also the relevant data is also stored on there, which means that you can stop what you're doing in one device, go home or go to work or go to a friend's house or whatever the case is, and log in, and then everything is there once again, and you can continue doing where you left off. And that's really the kind of the very high level of what we mean by cloud, and generally what people mean when they say things are in the cloud. It just means that it's instantly accessible online from any device that can reach it.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so if you think about, even things like smart TVs nowadays and all kinds of other gadgets, and I'm sure one day maybe we'll get like smart fridges or something.
That would be nice. That like makes your food for you.
I can't promise that actually, so I shouldn't say that.
So does that mean that it will also be? Will there be like an app for iOS and like smartphones?
So right now, everything that we're building is built in from a techie perspective. It's built in HTML5, latest tech for most websites and things that you see. What it means is that you can do some pretty awesome things with it. And it also means that essentially anything that has a fairly recent browser will be able to access it by default. And then if you put it on full screen, you'll get a really cool experience. And it's being designed so that it works really nicely with touch devices from the get-go. So it should feel like a native app experience. We are going to be looking at whether we should do some native apps as well. Right now, there's no plans for those. We want to make sure that we get the features right. But essentially, we really want to make sure that we're not limiting who can access the Keep by default. So we're aiming for traditional browsers, so most people will be able to connect to the internet at some point and be able to get online that way. And then we may look at doing native apps as well. Just we also know that people prefer that too, and it's a good way to discover those things. So.
Okay, cool. People are asking, will we be able to import our previous saves into the Keep?
Yeah, that's it's a big question that we're still trying to answer, and there's a lot of challenges around.
I could imagine
that in particular. So the one thing that I can say, and I think if you've been following DAI news, you've seen this before as well. We are genuinely trying to crack and to figure that out. It's not something that we can say at this point, apart from we're still working on it.
Yeah.
See if we can find a way to do that.
A lot of people don't. I've been noticing that they don't really understand why it's so tough. It's like, well, you got to take into consideration the next gen systems, and I mean, just switching if someone switches from the next gen or I mean, I'm guessing maybe it's easier if it were just a PC.
Yeah, it's every platform has a different challenge. Consoles, of course, it makes it very hard to try to get a hold of that, and then how you can send it to us in the first place, and then there's little nuances like we're actually not allowed to crack open save files outside of the consoles, as an example. So if you could get it to us, we can't actually do anything with it.
Yeah.
And then we also want to make sure that it's a solution that is accessible to everyone. So PC, obviously, we could find a way for you to send us the file, figure out how to do that. But then that leaves out a portion of our audience as well. So we're trying to figure out, is there a solution here that we could do, that we could implement, which covers everyone, or at least as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Even then, there's still a lot of challenges between Origins and DA2 is slightly different. In some cases, even the patches that you have introduces different versions as well. You have to take that into account. Whether you have, even something like whether you've completed the game or whether you're partially through, there's lots of different things that we have to take into consideration as well. That's part of the challenge. Is it's just not a straightforward thing. It's not that it's impossible. Lots of things with enough time, throwing enough time and energy at it, you can solve it. It's just a matter of when we look at everything else that we're trying to do, we have to balance that. So we are just find an elegant solution to it, and also something that I think we have to make sure that we don't lose focus on. A lot of players are actually not as tech savvy, so some players are very comfortable moving files around and things like that. Not everyone is able to do that. Even finding their save file locations can be a challenge and so forth.
Yeah.
So we have to take all those things into consideration when we're trying to create a solution.
Definitely. And we appreciate all of your guys' hard work. I think everybody should know that you guys are working really hard to give us all a good experience.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that's the intent, is to try to make it as seamless as possible and as easy as straightforward, so that everybody can enjoy it.
If we're not switching platforms, is that still an issue to import? Let's say you're still playing on the 360. Is it still an issue to import the save files?
It's something that we're looking at. So right now, the way that it's set up is you would have to import from the Keep.
Okay.
And there's a couple reasons for it, and I don't think, again, they're probably not as obvious, so I'll just touch very briefly on it. One of the big things for us has been, and if you've played either DAO or DA2 and you've done some importing through Awakening or through DLCs, etc., or you may have seen that there has been issues with the save import systems. It wasn't until we tried to tackle something like the Keep and expose all of these plot flags and the really intricacies around all the permutations and all the rules that validate whether a choice is possible or not. It is really, really complex.
Yeah. Is it right that I heard Mike Laidlaw saying that you guys even hired a criminal
investigator?
Yeah.
So Ben was the author of the lore book, and he's sort of the keeper of the IP, and also Corey May, who's one of our writers and designers, has done an amazing job trying to wrangle the complexity of all the rules.
Wow.
In such a way that we could actually visualize it. So we actually have visual diagrams now that we work from that helps QA out and helps our web dev team to make sure that we're connecting the things in the right place. But yeah, it is, when you look at that visually, like you see a diagram. Maybe we can actually do this. I'd like to do some blog posts on the Keep at some point. Maybe we can show some of this stuff off. But
that would be awesome.
The web of choices, and then you see huge blobs, and probably the biggest one is around Alistair, of course. And you can just zero in, yep, that's Alistair. There's so much stuff that is cross-dependent, and it affects both games as well. So the biggest challenge that we run into, and how we got ourselves into these issues of importing and things like that, is really around the complexity of it, but also we can't guarantee that the same designer is going to be the one that's still around, or whatever the case is, to do these imports.
Yeah.
Nor that usually the save import system will be one person, one programmer, or whatever the case is, and then there'll be one designer that will hook up those flags into the plot system of the next game and so forth. And it's if you can imagine something like 600 flags being imported, or more than that, into DA2,
wow.
And then it's not as simple as is Alistair. To answer that question, you need to do a logical solve for 12 plus flags. Some of them change over time as well. So again, depending if you have a game that is finished versus not, that changes the complexity of the logic. So it's very easy to get into issues where sometimes they check the wrong flag. They check the flag of, how did Alistair's situation get resolved at the end of DAO versus in the middle, or whatever the case is, which is relevant for this thing. And that's how we kind of get at these things. Long story short, the reason for moving something into the Keep and putting it in the cloud is we recognize for DA is not a trilogy like Mass Effect was,
Yeah.
or at least Shepard's story. So the challenge is, as we add more titles, this was only going to become more exponential and a bigger issue, both for QA and for writers and so forth. The only way for us to really resolve that was to remove the logic system from the game client. As soon as we have the logic system for importing in the game client, then you run the risk of there's issues. And as soon as there's an issue, these are really difficult to try to patch. As we tried both titles, and some things we were able to resolve and some things not. And also, even just something like how you handle someone's game in progress. Because you could, by fixing something, you could actually validate other flags in their...
Oh, yeah.
So the only real way to safeguard this stuff is actually not to put that in the client and to put that outside. And what that now means is you can future-proof it, you can fix it, you can add stuff. So DA, whenever 8 comes out, hopefully, 10 years, whatever, and the writers decide they needed to capture something from Dragon Age Origins, we could add that online.
Oh, interesting.
People saves. So it creates a state for us where this is a huge part of what the DA world is about, and it actually makes it feasible for us to manage that moving forward. Now, the flip side to that, which we recognize, is there is a dependency on online in terms of if you want to import your save game, your world state, at the time of starting a new game, then you will have to connect and get those things down at that point. So that's kind of the drawback for it. We are still investigating where there's a couple other options that we could look at. Again, the challenges there is we're on 5 platforms with new technology. It may not be the case in the future, of course. If we do more titles, we could be looking at even more platforms or whatever. So whatever we put in place now needs to be something as well that is considered that we could continue to sustain moving forward. So we don't cut off players in other platforms down the road or things like that. So that's why the decision to go into a space that was online and we could continue to manage that went in that direction. And yeah, it's, we recognize that there's people that have concerns over that, but at a minimum, you'll be able to always have at least the canon version that you could use if you don't want to go online or you can't at the time. And once you do an import at the start of a new game, you don't have to go back online anymore. That information is now saved.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Okay, that's cool. So it's just like a one-time thing, and then you get it all done, and then that's it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because again, the point is not to force you to go online. The point is to help you to
form that first, and then
once you have it, then it's fine.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. Now you probably can't go into detail here, but will we be expecting something? A lot of people have asked me if we're going to be expecting something along the lines of. Now feel free to just say, just nod your head or whatever, or if you can't say anything, you're like, wait, what? But if it's going to be similar to the way in look to Mass Effect Genesis, like comic booky narrating.
Can I say that we will talk about that later?
Yeah, sure.
That's probably the fairest. And actually, in truth, it's not solid yet.
Okay.
Some of that will be communicated yet. There's an implementation that we have right now which allows us to go through the beta tests and to look at that. But I think the safest option is as we get closer, then we'll be able to talk about that probably.
Okay.
To actually show some of it as well.
Yeah. In the blog, Mark Dara says that you will be able to input how you modified your Warden and Hawk. Does that include their looks as well, or is it just in personality, class, race, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, he's really talking about the Warden or Hawk flags that affect the world state, which is really gender, class, those kind of things. There's no, definitely one of the things I don't want to set people's expectations. There is no way to visually modify your appearance.
Right.
So that's not going to be. It's not a character creator or something along those lines for Hawk and Warden or anything.
Okay, so it's more for like getting similar to trying to get as close to your storyline when it comes to like the surface stuff. Okay. So what you were talking about with the whole avoiding these issues that you could get when literally importing, that's what you guys are calling the logic validator, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the logic validator or the solver for the system is, again, as you can imagine, is pretty complicated. And it's continuously working as we find edge cases and things like that. But really, at the simplest level, what it means is it allows you to dive in at any point into two games, including DLCs, EP, those kinds of things. You can start making choices. And what it will do is it will fix anything that conflicts with those choices. So suddenly if I say, you know what, okay, so not to spoil it. So a certain follower of mine is now dead. And I originally, the world state said, this follower, you have him doing something towards the game, that is no longer possible. So it will pick the next most logical. And then, so the purpose of that is that you always have a safe state that is ready to go and it's valid with no inconsistencies, no conflicts.
Nice.
You literally just fire up DAI and import that in and see the results of that.
Okay.
And then one of the things that we're also looking at, because we think that's going to be important as well, is for people that have a specific goal. I really want to set this particular state, or I really want to have this ending, with that follower. That you can lock certain choices, and in that way, when the validator tries to go through and it hits that, it tries to respect that and work around it as much as possible.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
You may get yourself into a situation where it's actually not possible.
Yeah.
So just ask you, how do you want to solve this?
Oh, nice. It brings me to my next question, or concern more like it. That people are saying, it feels like my choices are being cheapened down if I'm not getting my import. But with what you're saying, it's almost like urging us to do that so that it could kind of like clean up anything from our previous playthroughs.
Yeah, that's the goal, is ultimately that you can recreate to what you want, or to something that you wish perhaps you had done, but couldn't get yourself to make those choices in certain cases. But the idea is that you can set that up and then see the result of that, because that's where the fun of it is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of considerations there, and I understand where people are coming from, and I kind of feel that way as well. In some way, it is a shortcut to not playing 100 hours of Origins and DLCs and then DA2 or whatever the case is. And whenever you take shortcuts, you might feel like you're kind of cheating a little bit, perhaps. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you can always just, if you really feel strongly about that, you could always just recreate the world that you had played through and then see the results of that in whatever platform you want.
Yeah.
But I think for me, there's two things that are really interesting is being able to discover those kind of what-if scenarios. I think, we have to recognize, again, as something that we want to be able to sustain this for a long period of time and support the DA franchise. As time goes on, and we see this with older games as well, as time goes on, even something like Dragon Age Origins eventually will be harder to play.
Definitely.
People, as we're now in a new generation of hardware, in a couple of years' time, you'll probably have your 360 or your PS3 in the basement gathering stuff. You may not have your game anymore. It may not be working. Those kinds of, or you've changed your PC and you lost your save files, and things that are very real. And again, for non-tech savvy people, it's even just finding those save files and stuff sometimes is not straightforward. So that's why in trying to create something that was hopefully a streamlined or a straightforward of an experience for the most people possible, so that they can enjoy those games. And as we add more games, hopefully, we should see more people coming on board as well. Yeah. And that, that's one of those areas that even now we may see that there are fans that only played Origins or only played DA2 or maybe didn't finish both or whatever the case is. So it's an opportunity to kind of bring them up to speed on some of those things as well. And I think that's an important part of also what the Keep is there for. But again, it's totally optional. You don't need to engage to that level if you really just say, I really just want to set this up the way that I had it at the end of my game, or as far as I recall, and that's what I want to play through, and I want to stick to that as sort of my my personal canon.
Yeah.
to DAI, then you can totally do that as well.
Cool. And for people that want to just that don't, like, say people newcomers, they could just go straight into DAI without using the Keep.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, like, the Keep is totally optional. You don't have to connect to it. What happens is you would get the canon version of history up to that point.
Okay. You pretty much answered everything that I have here. Okay. So now I'm just gonna answer. I'm gonna ask you a question that I get asked a lot, and I have my answer, but I want to know what you would say to this. People ask me, do I have to play Dragon Age Origins and Dragon Age 2 to play Dragon Age Inquisition?
So I mean, there's the marketing line. And then there's the reality of DAI is actually being done in a really, really good way to allow both new players and existing players to be able to start from scratch. Mm-hmm. So, and again, I think there's a recognition on our part that maybe you didn't complete one of the previous games or whatever the case is, but you still are interested in DAI, mm-hmm. and you have to look out for that. I think the way that I would treat again, things like the Keep is the same. It's totally optional. The same way that you have, DLCs or even the books or comics or movie or things like that. It's for people that want to dive that much deeper into the IP. Those are things that they can use to learn more about the lore and to understand more about what's happening. And you kind of feel a little bit more in the know because you have some of those programs. But really, if we do our job right, you should be able to just dive right into DAI with no previous experience or having only some of the previous experience from the previous games. And it should feel like home, and you should understand what is going on and be able to enjoy that.
Right, especially if they do the Keep as well. It's like
absolutely. Yeah. So using the Keep is a good way to kind of onboard somebody already to help them bridge that gap, and that's partly what we're hoping to achieve with it as well.
Awesome. I'm actually really excited about it because I'm like, I played Dragon Age I have a thing where I create my character and then I do my playthrough and they're like, my warden is my first warden and then every other warden just feels off. Yeah. So I'm just like, I don't know. But I always wanted to see everything play out. So the Keep feels like it's a perfect way to do that. So I'm excited, and I really hope people have a better understanding now of what it is, because I think it is something to be excited about, and we're really grateful as well that you guys are putting so much effort into that.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's for DA especially, choices in the previous game is really important.
Yeah.
What the world is about, like you are acting through the hero, the player character, but it's really about the impact that you're having to the world. That's to be carried forward. So this was something that was not easy to do. It was really important that we solve this problem because it's such a big part of what the world of Dragon Age and Thedas is about. So
definitely.
Again, like I said, I'm so excited I can't wait for having fans go through the Keep and give us some feedback. And
yeah.
Did you sign up for the beta?
I did sign up for the beta.
Okay, good. Yeah. Probably should have done that ahead of time. But yeah, no, it was pretty awesome. We got a huge response.
Really?
Wanted to be part of the beta, and
nice.
Looking forward to starting to send some notices out pretty soon.
Oh, really? Do you think? Do you know if the beta will be ready? You said by 2014, like early 2014.
Yeah. So the next step is we'll put it in front of the team as part of the Christmas build. We'll get some feedback from that, and then we'll work on that feedback. And then probably in the first few months in 2014, we should start to get some fans.
Nice.
Keep and to give us some feedback from their perspective and make sure that we haven't missed anything. We don't think we have, but it's always possible. It's so rich, the IP. So
yeah.
Hopefully we've done a good job with that, and then people are, like I said, maybe we can surprise them pleasantly with what they see on there.
No, yeah, you guys always have a way to surprise us with things. It always surprises me. I mean, I'm always like this huge fan, but I still get blown away by the things that I see, and I'm like, oh my god. I'm just really excited.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, I don't want to take up too much of your time because I know you're running around. So again, thank you so much for doing this. Really, really appreciate it. And yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you.
Likewise. Thanks again.